Hello and welcome to Pepperdine Esports League of Legends versus Montana State University or Bobcat Esports. My name is Grace. RamseyIsMey, Ramsey, and this is my co-caster,
Coddiwomple Griffith. Nice to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and tonight we are getting right back into it. We had a game this past Thursday, and now we have a game today. That's just how collegiate works sometimes, moving at a breakneck pace.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. I'm excited for a second cast with you, Ramsey.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Hopefully this is a competitive game. We saw a good competition in the last game versus UCLA, but definitely a very strong opponent for Pepperdine. So, I'm very optimistic about this game. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and, it definitely a little bit disappointing with, how the games versus UCLA turned out. But I know that Pepperdine went in and did VOD review and has been, looking over the tapes and practicing even in those couple days since Thursday. So I know that they are, actively learning and taking from those previous games. So I'm excited to see what they learned from those previous matches going into this match today.
I'm really excited to see how the level 1 develops. I mean, we saw how impactful that level 1 jungle invade was in the first game against UCLA. So I'm really curious to see what adaptations Pepperdine has in this series. If they're going to do their own level 1 invades, if they're going to have some strategy prepped for the level 1. Very interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, currently we are in lobby. Everyone's getting into LCS order, so we should be able to hop into picks and bans here pretty quickly, but we haven't gotten the R's in the chat for everybody being ready yet. So just based on some of your scouting, Coddy, what do you expect to see from both of the teams coming into this game?
Yeah, so I expect a high priority on the Yasuo Rakan, again, for Pepperdine. That combo worked really well. In the team fights that they won, where they were successful, it was really that Rakan knock-up into the Yasuo ult. So I'm expecting them to stay with that same synergy. Santos seems to be very comfortable on the Yasuo. As far as the Bobcats are concerned, there's a heavy priority on Caitlyn. It seems like they really want to be playing Caitlyn. They really want to be pushing that lane tempo. We saw UCLA do that successfully against Pepperdine, so I expect to see that strategy come out if it's on the table. I would imagine Pepperdine bans the Caitlyn, and then they fall back to the Ashe, but that lane dominance, push into the tower, get some plates, get some gold, rotate into the mid lane. That's how I'd expect the Bobcats to try to play it out.
Yeah, and Pepperdine is starting blue side this game, I do believe, so that'll be impacting things. I always forget which side has the pick 2 first. Is that blue side or is that red side?
I believe red side picks second, so blue side picks first. I believe. Don't quote me on it, though.
Yeah, we'll see. Casual casters here. Yeah, so we'll have to see, but, we'll get that going pretty quick here.
We do see some similar playstyle from the support role from Bobcats as the UCLA support role, with a lot of heavy engage, a lot of Alistar, Nautilus, and a little bit of Blitzcrank. So same kind of thing, roaming, engage supports from the UCLA bot lane. I imagine we're going to see kind of that same standard bot style from both teams, where you've got a heavy engage support with a hyper carry to back them up.
Yeah, it makes sense. In a lot of competitive play, you see those sort of engage-heavy supports to set up the plays for the team, especially because team play tends to be way more coordinated when everyone's in comms together. It's what you can expect. So. I see some people getting into the chat from the Windchill 400 fan club, so we'll have to see how he performs today. We do not want to disappoint those fans, obviously.
Yeah, no down 30 CS in 5 minutes would be fantastic.
Yeah. Seems like there's a couple bit of delays organizationally from the teams getting into the lobby, but we will be in there pretty quick. My train of thought ran away from me. It's fine. I do want to say real quick, just for propriety's sake, as per CLO regulations, we will be watching the game at the 3-minute spectator delay that's naturally occurring in client, and this stream is at a 2-minute delay. So if you say something in the chat and we don't respond to it until it's no longer funny anymore, that's why. We are on a 2-minute delay so that you are seeing everything 5 minutes after it's happening. And now we are going to be hopping into picks and bans. I will share my screen with you.
Right.
There we go. We see a Caitlyn ban come out from Pepperdine, which is what you expected. Not surprising at all.
This puts a lot of priority on Ashe Samira, so I'm curious to see if the Samira gets banned away by Bobcats, or if the Ashe gets banned away. There we go. Now we're falling back down to Samira, Ezreal as kind of the two primary carries, with MF being in there in contention. There is some... Oh, interesting. A Hecarim ban out of Pepperdine. That surprises me a little bit. Okay. See what the second round ban here is from the Bobcats. I would expect a Zac or a Talon ban would be in order, although maybe they'll ban the Yasuo given Santo's comfort on it in the last series.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They banned the Olaf.
Olaf. So a lot of jungle priority here, jungle and bot lane. And there's the Alistar ban. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also unsurprising. This makes me think we'll see, and there's the Yasuo. So Talon is open. This is something Santo doesn't normally get to play. And a Lucian first pick. Okay. So this is a triple flex, obviously. It can go top lane, it can go mid lane, it can go bot lane. I would expect to see it in the mid or top, depending on those matchups. So I imagine they'll hold mid lane for a while to see where they flex it. I imagine we won't see a gangplank coming out from the Bobcats. Otherwise, that Lucian's just guaranteed in the top lane. Okay, MF. That was my expectation for a fallback there. I imagine that means we'll have an Ezreal from the side of Pepperdine. It was comfort for Bobby Joe in the last series. And the Trundle pickup, interesting. Trundle got nerfed a couple patches ago. He's not kind of that same counter jungle monster that he has been. Leona, all right, that makes more sense. Leona, a great pairing with MF. She provides the lockdown needed to get that MF ult to just kind of run over team fights. Let's see what Pepperdine has in order. I'm expecting a jungle pick here. Just a little bit of priority on Windchill's champion so he doesn't get banned further in the second round of ban phase.
I don't know. Pepperdine tends to let Windchill get the counter pick at the very, very end of the draft. It's kind of what they've historically done, so we'll see. It'd be a little bit of a change to pick him early.
Braum pickup. Braum doesn't have a lot of priority into Leona in the laning phase, but fantastic into the MF ult. Can just block and reduce all that damage. And there's the Kindred. I imagine this is the jungle pickup for Windchill. Although it could theoretically go bot lane with Lucian being elsewhere, but I would imagine this is a pretty solid jungle pick here for Windchill.
Yeah, I don't know of Bobby Joe playing Kindred ADC, so it is probably the pickup for Windchill.
Yeah. I think this is just lock in a strong jungler with priority and make sure it doesn't get banned away. Sejuani picked up on the other side, so it looks like Bobcats are really focusing in on team fight prowess. I mean, that Sejuani lockdown with the ultimate, the Leona lockdown with the ultimate, and the MF to just absolutely shred people over the top.
Do you think this is a game where you pay the QSS tax?
I think it depends on the ADC. I think Lucian doesn't pay it. I think Ezreal doesn't pay it. Kindred, maybe. I'm not sure.
I'll come back stronger.
Okay.
Now that's surprising. That indicates that it's not a top lane Lucian, and there's the talent ban we expect. Okay. Yeah, if it's a top lane Lucian, you don't ban the gangplay because Lucian is so strong into gangplaying.
Lucian Braum is a pretty, I guess, bread and butter bot lane composition. So maybe they're just going with what's kind of tried and true for the bot lane here today.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good analysis there. With Braum's passive needing 3 stacks and Lucian's double auto passive, it makes sense that they would put that in the bot lane, and it will have some priority in the lane. Let's see what the first pick here is. Now, Vigar, interesting. So saving top lane for last to try to mitigate that Lucian flex. Vigar is relatively weak in the early laning phase, but does scale very well. I wonder if we see Santos pick here. No, okay, it'll be Ornn in the top lane.
All right.
And now we find out where this Lucian's going.
Have to see, waiting with bated breath. I'm willing to bet some money, but I'm not a gambler. That Lucian is going in that ADC role, and that we're...
I agree. Orianna, okay. So, also setting up for big team fights.
Yeah, they needed some AP damage as well.
Absolutely. This is a relatively squishy comp from Pepperdine. I mean, the Ornn will get big, and Braum with the shield is big, but no... Uh-oh. This is an interesting pick here if the Fiora gets locked in. They've drafted almost 100% team fight with the Vigar, Sejuani, Leona, and the MF, and then they pick a split pusher. So strong 4 side for the Bobcats. I'm very curious. There's a lot of engage with the Ornn ult and the Shockwave on the side of Pepperdine. If the 4-man from Bobcats ever gets hit by either of those abilities, it's going to be very difficult for them to disengage and give the Fiora space to move around.
Yes, indeed. What do you expect to see, in the early game from Pepperdine? Do you think that they will be ahead early, which they've typically struggled in, or do you think it'll really be up to them to pull it back in the mid game and onward?
No, I think the Kindred should have some priority in the early game. I think it's going to come down to really, can the bot lane, which is a winning lane, help that Kindred get an early Scuttle Crab, get into the enemy jungle and get a mark or two. If she can get a couple marks early and really start to take over, the Sejuani will be in a lot of trouble. On the other hand, if the Kindred can't get a early mark, it's going to be difficult for her to have relevancy. So I think a lot of it comes down to early jungle pathing and the lanes getting in there to help the Kindred out. Unfortunately, I'm not super familiar with the Ornn v Fiora matchup in the top lane. Fiora can riposte the knockup from Ornn, so I would imagine she wins the 1v1. And I think she'll shred his armor late. So I think that top lane matchup is definitely something to watch closely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that Fiora, is not necessarily the best matchup for Ornn, but, Scott tends to, when he doesn't get over aggressive, he tends to be pretty good at just kind of playing back and playing for being relevant in the later stages of the game with the Ornn upgrades and things like that. Pepperdine is used to playing around the Ornn and all of that, and there's lots of champions here that can benefit from those Ornn upgrades, so I don't think that the Fiora will be too much of a problem as long as, Scott doesn't play too aggressive and respects her in the early stages.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how and who matches the Fiora when we hit that 20-25 minute mark. I'm not really sure who they're going to put in the side lane against the Fiora. I don't know that the Ornn can hold against the Fiora, and the Orianna certainly can't. So I'm very curious to see how they play around that split push comp, and if the Bobcats can play the disengage game and just, really using that Leona ult to just kind of make sure there's space between them and Pepperdine's, fantastic team fight with the Ornn into the Shockwave. So it's going to be really interesting. This is going to come down to macro execution, I think.
Yeah, indeed. And, you know, the Orianna pick is kind of throwing me off a little bit too, just because that's not something that we've really seen from Pepperdine up to this point. Pepperdine tends to draft those AD mid laners, with Yasuo and Talon being some of the mains of our mid laner Santa Massey, and as well as the Kiana at times. So I really don't know what to expect from Santa Massey on this champion.
Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier. They needed some AP damage. They had the Kindred jungle picked early with the Talon open, and so that tells me that they put the priority on the Kindred over the Talon for win chill, and so this is a pre-planned comp where they knew they were picking the Kindred and they were going to need some AP damage, and so those two, the Yasuo and the Talon ban, seem almost wasted if there was kind of from the start going to be an emphasis on the Orianna to complement that Kindred. So we'll see. The Orianna ball and Shockwave can be very potent if you get the Kindred in her ult, and people are also kind of trying to pile on the Kindred, and then she ults, and you can just get them all corralled into that area. So we'll see. Hopefully it works out in their favor.
Yeah, definitely. We will have to see. We are loading into the game now. I want to make sure that that's all set on the stream side of things. And then I will transfer us over to that here in just a few moments. You know how the client be sometimes.
Most popular game in the world, can't build a functioning client.
Hey, we're just a small indie game company, okay? Give Rito a chance. We're sitting at 0% loaded in, so as soon as that goes anywhere beyond that, we will.
I am curious to see what runes and masteries are taken here. You know, what the Kindred is going to take in the jungle, if she's going to take press the attack or lethal tempo, or if she'll take fleet footwork. I'm not really sure. So that may play out how the early game goes. Same thing with the Orianna, if she'll go phase rush or if she'll go something along the lines of electrocute.
There we go. We are transferring over to the game now. Let me make sure I share the screen with you, caster friend, because we are unfortunately not in the same space at this moment. And now let me get everything set up for everyone's viewing pleasure. There we go. Hopefully that works out.
All right, it looks like Pepperdine does have a level 1 planned. Into this top side, flash from
onto the
Fiora.
Fiora. Sejuani is there to cover. They're chasing. And it does not look like Pepperdine is going to commit any further.
Yeah, so it clearly an adaptation from Pepperdine. They saw how impactful that level 1 was in their UCLA game, and they decided to take matters into their own hands. Looks like it costs just the one summer spell on the side of the Braum.
Yeah, and the Bobcats don't really lose anything in that. They just potentially... No, they don't really lose anything.
And Pepperdine didn't even get a deep ward for it, so I'm not sure that the level 1 quite worked out.
Yeah, and they're definitely going to have to be careful on that bot side with Braum's flash being down. He's vulnerable.
Absolutely. Now we see on the top side the Ornn kind of roaming in here.
I am curious as to why. Just to check.
Yeah, I guess just for the early vision, scouting out where the Sejuani's starting and knowing her path. It probably helps, since Braum has no flash for the next couple minutes, to know that the Sejuani's pathing that way, and they shouldn't be surprised by a level 3 gank here in the next minute and a half or so.
Yeah, and this is just a friendly reminder for the chat to be patient with directed camera, because I am multitasking on too many things right now to also control what you guys are seeing, so we'll have to just deal with that for a little bit.
It looks like the Orianna did go phase rush and the Kindred did go press the attack. So Orianna looking for a little utility, make sure she's safe in laning phase, can get away from those ganks, and the Kindred really looking to be a very viable AD threat in the late game.
Scott's already feeling a little bit of hurt in the top lane.
Yeah, not a great trade. Got a couple vitals proc there.
He does have the better vital for himself right now. Of course, that's resetting. Fun tip for anyone facing a Fiora in lane, you can walk away if you have an unfavorable vital and get that reset to potentially a more favorable one. Right now we are just farming. Most of the action is going on with these little trades in top lane.
Yeah, it looks like Kindred got an unfavorable mark, unfortunately for her. It is on the bot side while she's on the top side of the map, and the Sejuani has invaded her bottom side and will likely take that scuttle on the way out. So a little unfortunate for Windshield there. It looks like the junglers have split the map, with Sejuani taking the bot side and Kindred taking the top side.
A fairly demure early game so far. Certainly less going on than with the UCLA games.
Looks like Windshield up here for a little bit of
coming in for a gank. It looks like the Fiora will go down to the Kindred, getting the first blood.
Very well played on the side of the Ornn to make sure that riposte was out and then just follow it up.
Yeah, I think that shows some, you know, a lot of knowledge on Scott's part when it comes to damage thresholds and stuff, because, you know, my heart stutter-stepped. I was worried that she would get the vital and kill Scott there, but he didn't even flinch. He knew that he was all good, so it just shows you how much he's played this champion and how familiar he is with these matchups.
Yeah, and both flashes saved up there, so Scott not needing to flash away, and the Fiora not feeling like flashing out was going to get her to safety.
Yeah, and she teleported back to, you know, make sure that she didn't lose all that farm, but, you know, I'm sure Scott's hoping that she loses at least a little bit of it under tower.
Yeah, no teleport advantage for this first dragon, not for the next 5 minutes or so. Early back here from the Lucian to get a Vamp Scepter. Just a little bit more survivability in lane. Relatively mellow early game compared to the two games we saw the other day. It does look like the Fiora is, yeah. It looks like the Fiora is opening up a little bit of a CS advantage over the Ornn, about 10 C up now with the wave in her favor. Although Windshield is back into the top side, can he make something happen?
The Fiora ult goes down. The Ornn gets the stun onto the Fiora into the wall, and Kindred might just clean it up here. Riposte does not get anything.
Fantastic repeat gank from Windshield there.
And Scott is in a good position just to collect all that farm and help recoup a little bit of that CS advantage that the Fiora built.
It does mean Dragon is going to go over to the Bobcats, though.
Honestly, though, that first Mountain Dragon is, I think, almost worth for getting Kindred ahead. But of course, now the Braum is stunned. The Leona Q goes out, Sejuani's slow, and I think that Braum will be going down. But both flashes committed from Montana to get that Braum, and I don't think that was necessary.
Yeah, I'm not going to say worth there, and both the Sejuani and the Leona flash expended. I think Evan Cakes might have walked over to try to get some vision on the Dragon, and just Leona's got so much lockdown.
Yeah, it was the Leona E into the Leona Q, as Leona is wont to do, but I definitely don't think the life of the support player is worth both of those flashes, but the kill does go over to the Sejuani, so at least Leona didn't get it, and I know the Bobcats are going to be happy about that fact.
Very much so. Taking stock in the top lane, we've caught up in CS a little bit on the other side of the Ornn. It looks like the junglers traded red buffs, and there might be a gank in the mid lane here in a second.
And it looks like Kindred is coming to the top side again.
Yeah.
There is a ward in the river, so the Fiora will back off, but... Okay,
it looks
the
like
Kindred
Santo
is...
had to burn his flash mid lane to get away from the Vigar cage.
Directed cam failed us on that one.
Rift Herald is up. I'm curious to know if Pepperdine put some focus on that. Winchell has spent almost all his time on the top side of the map, so I imagine that's the next objective they'll focus on. Another mark deep in the bot side jungle, and the Kindred, I think, is going to really struggle to get going this game, despite the 2 kills. No marks for her yet, I don't think.
Oh, some spiciness going down in this bot lane, and the Lucian... Oh, no, it's the Braum that picks up the kill on the Misfortune.
Good
That's
kill
a
there,
bit
but...
unfortunate.
Yeah, not ideal.
And there's a skirmish up here on the top side. The Fiora ult goes down, as does the Ornn ult. Will he get the knockup? He does indeed.
Great
and it
knockup.
looks like the Ornn is going to take that one.
Oh, played by
Sejuani ult into the Veigar E just to make sure that no matter what, Santo does not get away, and that Orianna is dead. I don't know how else to say it. It just kind of happened, you know?
Just gone. It seems like Santo isn't quite as comfortable on this Orianna as he might be on a Talon or a Yasuo. It looks like Pepperdine backs off the Herald with the mid laner down. They don't want to give that up. And it looks like the Bobcats have actually started it up.
Over
no,
and... Nope, she
Blast
left.
comes over and dashes out.
Just to make sure, I guess, that the Ornn wasn't trying to take it or something along those lines. Bobby Joe is very low here, but I don't think that Montana wants to try to take that. Ornn holding all that farm outside of tower, waiting for his wave.
Yeah, if you can try to freeze it here and just force the Fiora to push up, maybe give Winchell another opportunity to get up there for a gank. That mark's still on the Gromp on the bot side. See if the Kindred can get over there and try to take that one away. Bot lane does have priority, but it looks like they might be backing off.
We have another dragon, the Infernal Dragon, coming up here in about 45 seconds. So you've got to expect that that Kindred is down there to try to start getting ready for that objective.
It looks like the Bobcats are going to try to trade the Herald on the top side for that Infernal Drake. We start to see some of the first items coming through here. The Vigar picking up the squirt gun there, and Kindred having finished her jungle item.
Indeed.
It looks like the Lucian's going straight into a Bork. Help shred through that Sejuani and Leona on the front line.
Which makes sense. I think that's a fairly good itemization there. Looks like we are getting ready in the bot side to get that dragon, but the Leona and the Misfortune are hovering.
I'm worried the Pepperdine gave
and
up the Herald on the top side. And
they do get it. Are they going to escape with their lives, though? It looks like the Bobcats are getting dove upon. The Sejuani and the Braum. Ooh, wow. That was a bit of a kerfuffle there. That doesn't get much of anything.
The Ornal doesn't get anything, so it's a teleport committed for essentially nothing.
The Ornn ult is committed for nothing, as is the Braum ult. The Leona ult does stun the Ornn there, but the Braum gets the kill on the Misfortune again. But I don't know if Pepperdine will continue committing to this tower dive.
But you have to think kind of a botched dive there from Pepperdine. Yes, they got the MF, but the Orianna dies in the chaos. The Fiora's going to get that top lane tower. And the kill on the MF went over to the Braum.
Yeah, it really is the ADC Braum coming through, I guess. Who knew that they had actually switched roles this game?
It looks like the Fiora only gets 3 plates instead of the full tower. I wonder if the Sejuani will go up there with the Herald and drop it and really give that Fiora an open lane to start splitting.
It really is an interesting game when you can say that both Pepperdine's jungle and support are the most fed members of their team.
Very, very true. I'm curious to know how the Bobcats will use their teleport advantage. The Fiora did not TP into that last fight. So for the next couple minutes, they will be able to rotate with that TP a lot faster.
They will be looking for an opportunity to get ahead using that teleport.
Yep.
Despite the kill
Bobcats
difference, there is, you know, fairly even in gold, not that much of a difference.
Yeah, Pepperdine had opened up about 1,000 gold lead with those first couple of kills, and the Bobcats have clawed it back.
And Scott going aggressive and getting that aggressive trade onto the Fiora, and while Fiora isn't necessarily the best matchup for Ornn, but Scott's making it work.
Yeah, well, he's got a finished Sunfire Cape and a Bramble Vest, so it's going to be hard for that Fiora to get damage to stick.
Yes, definitely. And it looks like that Kindred is going towards the top side now. The mini-map is looming. We'll see if anything comes of that.
It looks like we got a roam down from the mid lane and the jungle in behind.
Oh, and a
Pepperdine's
flash
lane.
goes out from the Fiora to survive the Ornn ult.
Oh, great
And-
Vigar cage.
Yeah, the shutdown on the Braum going over to the Vigar. The Misfortune ulti just there to give a little bit of extra damage and secure that kill, but I'm sure they're happy it went to the Vigar considering he was already doing well. And this tower dive on the Leona is Fiora is successful.
Another kill over to Windchill. So despite not having a ton of marks to her name, getting fed off some kills in the top lane. Will Pepperdine be able to secure first tower? No, they will not. Bobcats get it in the bot lane. Uh-oh, Lucian caught out here. Will he get away? Yep, looks like he gets out.
Are they going to be re-engaging? No, it doesn't look like it. The Orianna warns Bobby Joe about the Veigar that is coming that direction. Larry getting fed there in the mid lane. Orianna keeping up in CS, though those 2 kills on the Veigar are going to make him a bit more of a concern than the Orianna.
And the scaling on the side of the Veigar should be quite scary.
Yeah.
There isn't really anyone on the side of Pepperdine who can dive the Veigar on the backline. The Kindred can jump in there and try to take out the Veigar, but she, without, you know, the survivability, if she drops her ult and she hasn't killed the Veigar already, then she won't kill him. So I'm curious to see if this Veigar can just kind of sit out and hang out in the back line, and just kind of pump out damage as he scales up.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of a ticking time bomb on that champion there.
It looks like
He is by himself, gets stunned, and almost the full brunt of the Lucian ult. Scott flashes over the Veigar E to try to secure the kill, but the Sejuani is there to cover for the Veigar. Will Scott ultimately pay the price for his aggression? And it looks like he might. The Sejuani ult goes down, but now the Braum is there to protect Scott, and Scott gets away. He would have liked to get away with a Veigar kill as well, but at least his life will do. And Pepperdine does get the Ocean Drake. The Orianna is just getting ganged up on by the rest of the Montana squad. The Leona ult goes down, but for reasons unbeknownst to me, do you know why that happened there, Coddy? Perhaps not. Ooh. It looks like we are experiencing some technical difficulties with our Discord call. Give us just a moment. There we go. Are we back? Speak to me, friend. There we go.
I can see the game again.
My Discord decided to crash. Thank you, chat, for being patient with us. You were able to still see the game while I was trying to figure that out. We love
Did
these.
we miss anything, chat?
No. A little bit.
It looks like Pepperdine picked up a ocean drake while we were gone.
Yes, indeed.
Dive here onto the Ornn.
And the Orianna ult goes down. The Fiora does
shockwave.
manage to get away. Will she... The Kindred ult goes down, keeps Kindred alive, and... Ooh, the Veigar ult goes and gets the Orianna.
This is the power of that four-man team fight that we talked about in the early game. The Sejuani ult, the Liana ult, and the Veigar cage. Just so much zone potential with the MF ult coming down on top of all of it.
The moment you took your eyes off of it, Coddy, they managed to somehow get a 3,000 gold lead, and they are re-engaging onto Bobcats there. The Lucian ult goes down and manages to get the Leona. The Kindred does stop watch and gets taken down by the MF.
From the Kindred.
And it looks like the Ornn will get the kill and the shutdown on the Veigar.
So all told, it's 2 towers and an inhibitor to the side of the Bobcats and 4 kills to the side of Pepperdine. Now, losing that bot inhibitor is going to put a lot of pressure on Pepperdine to defend the Baron. They'll have super minions in the bot lane, and the Fiora presumably down there split pushing with the Baron up. So they're going to have to be very cognizant of their vision around the Baron.
Definitely, but it is pretty early in the game to have an inhibitor down, so potentially Pepperdine could swing that in their favor and get a little bit of extra gold in their pockets as well. And the Ornn does engage onto this Fiora. Almost the entire Pepperdine squad is there. The Riposte does get the stun on the Ornn, but ultimately Santomasi is there to pick up that kill, and that 0-4-0 Orianna is feeling much better to have that one now under her belt.
This next dragon is going to be quite important. Pepperdine really needs to get this 3rd dragon and put pressure on the Bobcats, threatening that Ocean Soul. That Ocean Soul will mean a lot for them in the coming
Santomasi
team fight.
flashes to get out of the Veigar cage, but does get stunned by the Sejuani ult. The Misfortune ult goes down, but ultimately does not get anything. Bobby Joe does manage to get the kill onto the Sejuani. Scott gets the Leona, and Pepperdine comes out of that fight ahead when it looked like the Orianna got a bit caught out by that Sejuani ult, but ultimately...
Fantastic ult from the Kindred, saving the Orianna, saving the team fight. Dragon goes over to Pepperdine. This is a huge team fight win for Pepperdine.
And did you see that chunk from the Lucian there onto that Veigar? He very nearly gets him to 1/3 of his health with just a single combination shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's the power of that Bork Essence Reaver from the Lucian. He's got a lot of damage. Uh-oh.
The most fed member of Pepperdine may be the Braum, but they are trying to share the wealth a little bit with everybody.
No one's down in the bot lane. No one's going back to defend against those super minions. Pepperdine does need to commit somebody down there, but by doing that, they give up vision and they give up control over the Baron pit.
Bobby Joe just making sure he keeps up that farm. The MF is farming the Krugs, but she is almost 40 CS down.
Yeah, no, a lot of the reason why Pepperdine's got a small gold lead here is that 40 CS differential on the bot side.
But when you came back in, Coddy, you saw that they were 3,000 gold down, so they've made that up and then some. So Pepperdine
Couple
really...
shutdowns and that dragon definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, Pepperdine definitely knows how to pull it back from a deficit. It's one of their strong suits. Just give them gold and then we'll shut it down. That's the whole point, right?
Yep. They're going to get a little outscaled in the late game with the Fiora and the Vigard, though the Ornn items will help offset that. So, again, this Ocean Soul is going to be a huge factor. For the rest of the game, the Bobcats have to defend against the Ocean Soul. So Pepperdine doesn't have to force the Dragons. They just get to pick their team fight around it.
The Sejuani ult goes out and gets nothing. I think she was trying to get the Lucian there. And you can see how much he was able to chunk that tanky Sejuani with that Bork. Oh, we can see the Fiora just sitting there in that bush, maybe trying to see if she can pull a fast one on that Kindred. She's still sitting there.
Just playing the waiting game down there, trying to see if the Kindred will overcommit.
And, you know, the Kindred does not. And Scott's going down there to meet that bottom wave. He'll see the Fiora, so we'll see what happens.
I'm very surprised.
Death Bush.
Death Bush in the jungle. Okay, so now you see the Bobcats rotating up. With the Fiora applying pressure in the bot lane, the Bobcats absolutely need to be pressuring this Baron, getting vision over it and threatening it to open up space for the Fiora to push in the bot lane. Fiora has TP too, so she can TP, and the Ornn does not. I would have expected in that window with TP advantage that the Bobcats would have been prioritizing that Baron a lot more heavily.
Yeah, it looks like they went over to it, but they did not commit. And now it looks like Pepperdine, they might just be getting some vision. They're probably not actually committing. Scott just hovering here in the bot side. I might have to take power into my own hands and make League show us. But no, now we get a little bit of a fight. The Ornn ult comes out and manages to hit the Fiora. The TP from the Veigar is coming down. Scott is low. Will he be able to escape with his life and get the Fiora on the way out? It looks like maybe not. And it is ultimately the Veigar that gets him.
Although the Leona goes down to the mid lane, and this opens up the opportunity for Pepperdine to start up the Baron with 2 members on the bot side and no TPs available.
I'd say that was worth for Pepperdine, for Scott to give his life wasting the time of both the Veigar and the Fiora so that they can open up for this Baron. The Misfortune ult coming out rather early into the Braum E. You would think that she would try to save it to steal. And the Sejuani ult goes down, but ultimately does not kill anybody. It hits
Excellent macro decision from Pepperdine. They saw 2 people in the bot lane, they saw both teleports used, and they immediately focused on, 1 teleport used, and they immediately turn on to the Baron.
Yeah, I'd say that was definitely worth Scott giving his life in the bot lane. Definitely having that Baron will help in this mid-game push.
It looks like we're seeing the first ornament coming out. It'll be the Luden's upgrade on the Orianna.
I'm a little bit surprised it goes on the Orianna first, but I guess no one else has built an item that Ornn can upgrade, because Bork is not an upgradable item, right?
I don't believe so.
I think Infinity Edge is normally what you see on ADCs that get the Ornn upgrade.
Yeah, that Molten Edge is very strong.
And the Ornn ult does get the Veigar, as does the Braum ult, which takes him out of the fight temporarily. The Fiora tries to go in, ultimately gets killed. The Veigar E zones much of Pepperdine away from the bulk of this fight, but they are continuing in. The Leona E does not see anything, and ultimately the Kindred ult goes down to save both Kindred and the Orianna. Scott continuing to zone the Sejuani here. And he will ultimately kill her while Pepperdine picks up the Ocean Drake and the Ocean Soul. That fight went very, very well for Pepperdine.
Yeah, I mean...
And of course the Vanguard just goes down like a little bit like a chump there. I am evil.
Unfortunately, the Bobcats drafted this 4-man with a split push Fiora, and because they're behind on Drakes, they can't let the Fiora sit in the side lane. Even though she has TP, they're forced to come and fight Pepperdine for that dragon. So the Fiora dives in on the Lucian, gets blown up, and that pick just amounts to nothing.
Yeah, and just looking at this gold lead that Pepperdine has managed to amass, yeah, in that like early to mid game sort of shift, Pepperdine fell a little bit behind, but they were really, really playing for those Drakes, which are so key in this season of the game, and ultimately it paid off and gave them the strength that they needed to really be able to just outfight the Bobcats kind of at every turn. The Sejuani re-engages and manages to get the stun, as does the Leona ult coming down. That double CC really wreaks havoc on Pepperdine, and the Ornn ult comes out to try to help Ornn get away, but there's just too much CC. He will not be able to escape, and wow, that was a sudden turn, but a lot of resources on the side of Montana State were committed to that fight. We'll see what they can get out of it here.
Unfortunately, just an overstay there from Pepperdine. They get engaged on with the Sejuani ult, and they've got no ability to disengage, and they lose their Baron on 4 members. I'm sorry, the Baron is already timed out. So they don't lose the Baron, but they will lose a mid lane tower, perhaps a second one.
Yeah, I don't think the Orianna can hold this tower on her own. Those death timers are just a bit too long. They do not stay for the inhibitor, which I think is wise on the side of the Bobcats, because now almost everybody from Pepperdine is back up. Scott will be up momentarily. He was the last one to die in that last fight, and I'm sure they're feeling good that they were able to stave off the inhibitor push by Pepperdine, but Pepperdine still has that lead, so...
Yeah, they got a 3K gold lead, but 2 open inhibitors, so a lost team fight can be the game pretty quickly.
Yeah, so Pepperdine definitely has to be cautious, and that was pretty much their one mistake. They got to make that mistake and not get too punished for it, so, you know, now they just can't afford to do it again.
So, no objectives up on the map. The next objective coming up will be that Elder Dragon. Actually, no, Baron spawning just shortly before the Elder Dragon. So the next objective will be Baron. We would expect to start to see the teams focusing vision control around the Baron. Fiora has TP, Ornn has TP. So matching TPs in the bot and mid lane. A lot is going to come down to who can get priority in this bot side. If the bot side has priority, then the rest, the 4-man on the other side of the map can push up and get vision and know that that TP is imminent. As you see here, the Ornn has priority, and Pepperdine has moved into the Baron area and put down vision. Just under a minute to go until Baron spawns.
It looks like both teams are kind of hovering around this top side, kind of preparing for that Baron. Of course, with the exception of the top laners, who both have TP right now to answer the sort of flirtations with the Baron, but it looks like nobody's really committing to being in that area right now. They're just kind of hovering.
A little bit of a lull state here until we get the Baron spawning in 10 seconds. I would expect Pepperdine to try to push their lanes out and then make the Bobcats face check them. With that Ocean Soul, they have the ability to force objectives and force the Bobcats to come to them. So putting down their vision and making the Bobcats face check them in the Baron areas, I think what Pepperdine wants to be doing here.
Yeah, and you should notice that upgraded Infinity Edge on the Lucian now, definitely going to be inflicting a lot of damage, especially to this tanky front line of the Bobcats from Montana State. So the Fiora looks like she is going in on the Ornn here with 2 levels up on him as well. She is chunking him down. Conqueror propped, but ultimately Scott uses his dash and gets away. Pepperdine is committing to this Baron, and Fiora is TPing in. Pepperdine is going to fall back, and the Sejuani ult goes out and does not get anything. That seemed to be the right move from Pepperdine, and they're going right back onto that Baron. We'll see if they pull off again. The Ornn ult comes out, does manage to hit the Sejuani. The Fiora is engaging, trying to get the Orianna, ultimately gets nothing. The Veigar E gets out and does stun the Braum, but the Misfortune ult does not get anything. The Braum ult helps the disengage from Pepperdine as the rest of the Bobcats pull away, and ultimately a very neutral fight.
I'll say that I agree with Pepperdine's decision to re-engage on that Baron. They had TP advantage in the bot side. They can simply back off, put the Ornn back bot lane, and then force again with TP advantage. So I think they may have overcommitted there a little bit, and now...
And every ult from Pepperdine aside from Orianna was committed in that fight. But Bobcats aren't doing much better.
Looks like
the Kindred manages to steal the Elder Dragon. Ornn will probably be the sacrificial lamb, but you love to hate to see it. I'm sure the Bobcats are scratching their head trying to figure out what happened there, but the Kindred is 3 levels up on the Sejuani and just outsmited.
And 10 CS shy of a Flame Horizon at that. I think we may have understated Windchill's impact on this game, and as you said in the early game, it looks like the Kindred has paid the QSS tax.
Indeed, but you know, it's worth it if you can make plays like that.
Absolutely.
So right now, the Bobcats have to be very, very tentative about these fights. Not only are they about 6k down in gold, but also much of Pepperdine has the advantage of the Elder buff. And so these fights can be very, very quickly won by Pepperdine if played correctly.
Deathcap and IH picked up on the side of the Bobcat, so that Veigar is going to start to really deal some serious damage here in the coming team fights.
Yeah, would you say that he's probably would you say he's the highest priority target for Pepperdine to take out of the fight early, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Without question, they want to get on that Veigar, but if he's playing safe in the backline, especially with the Super Soaker, it will be very difficult for them to get onto the Veigar. I actually would argue that the priority needs to be on this Fiora and shutting down the Fiora in the side lane. You know, eventually she's going to get to the point where she's a side lane terror. She's already kind of putting pressure on the Ornn. And so the macro play around the Fiora in the side lane is what's going to open up Pepperdine's ability to look for team fights in the mid and the top side.
And you've got to look at Oleg's play and just, you know, kind of give him props for coming back into this game, because he was shut down by Kindred pitching a tent in the top side early in the game. But the Fiora now, you know, even being, you know, 4-6 and 4, she is a bit of a monster.
Yeah, with finished Trinity Forest and finished Death Dance, she definitely can stick around in these fights.
Pepperdine does pick up this bottom inhibitor without too much of a fuss. The Veigar E goes out to see if he can get anything, but nothing really happens there. The Veigar is coming around for what seems like a spicy Veigar flank, but now the Ornn ult is going out, and Pepperdine is going to see if they can engage onto the Bobcats. The Braum ult goes down, and the Leona comes into the back lane to try to get a hold of Windchill, but ultimately does not. The Kindred ult goes down. The Veigar E does manage to get a stun off, but Pepperdine seems to be holding it in and coming out a little bit ahead in that fight. The Veigar ult does not kill Scott there, which I'm sure they are very glad of, but they are ultimately backing off.
Yeah, I mean, the Ocean Soul doing so much work keeping Pepperdine alive there. Like we said, there's just so much lockdown with the Sejuani ult and the Leona ult. It's hard for Pepperdine to take a team fight front to back like that.
I do have to say, no matter how much the Fiora has been able to come back into the game, she has been very aggressive and kind of going into these team fights, which, you know, can be good for Fiora to do, but I'm not sure she's quite that fed.
Yeah, I will say I'm surprised by the priority the Fiora is putting on being in team fights as opposed to splitting on the other side of the map. Especially with the Elder Drake on the side of Pepperdine. It seems like team fighting is not what they want to be doing. Give up an inhibitor, give up a tower on the bot side, and let the Fiora split on the other side to try to create an advantage on the other side of the map. It looks like another Molten Edge on the side of Pepperdine with the Kindred picking one up.
Yep. Pepperdine is leveling up in this late game, maintaining their gold lead, but that can trickle away quickly here, especially with Veigar, you know, not even fully maxed out yet. It looks like he might be building a second Rabadons. Is that what I'm seeing there on the Veigar?
I'm not sure what that NL rod is for. I'm curious to know what he's itemizing into. Yeah. A little bit of a death bush set up here by the Bobcats. Try to pick somebody off and rotate into Baron, perhaps?
It looks like Braum is now putting his items onto the Kindred, recognizing the carry here. The 7, 2, and 9 Kindred on the side of Pepperdine. And it looks like they're hovering around trying to maybe get this second Elder. Death bush! Death bush! I'm so excited.
This could be really good.
Oh, don't give it away, Bobby Joe.
The
Death
question
bush,
is who
death
they go
bush.
on. You don't wanna...
Oh no. Scott is stunned and cannot hit the second on the Ornn ult. Sejuani does jump over the wall and is able to escape the death bush. Not as exciting as what I was hoping
supers in their base. They can take this fight knowing they've got backup in the Bobcat's base.
And it does look like Leona commits her ult, ultimately only gets a slow. The Braum stun goes down on the Sejuani. The Veigar E zones out Pepperdine just a little bit. Ultimately, this fight is progressing much slower than what we've seen so far. The Veigar E gets 2 stunned, but ultimately nothing comes of it. Scott is in the midst of the team, trying to do the best he can to set stuff up. The Fiora has to flash out, but comes back into the fight. The redemption goes down, but not in time to save the Braum, who cast it itself. The Kindred ult goes down to save both Kindred and ultimately the jungler for the Bobcats, but the rest of the team, especially Bobby Cho, were able to clean that up for Pepperdine. And they got the Elder Drake. Oh, I'm sure that Veigar is feeling very nervous. Run, Veigar, run!
It should be the game here for Pepperdine. He's coming through. And with the second Elder Drake and the Ocean Soul, Pepperdine will clean up this game.
Yes, Pepperdine's first win of this CLOL season. I am sure they are very, very happy to have that under their belts. We will get right back over to showing y'all our beautiful faces. There we go. What an exciting match. So much back and forth. I felt like I was watching some sort of telenovela at times. Pepperdine sure knows how to keep it entertaining.
Yeah, no, Pepperdine played it really well. I mean, they had their kind of mid-game comp they've drafted for team fights, and they executed well. I mean, I think the Fiora felt a little out of place, not really comfortable in the side lane. Scott did a great job managing the Fiora, backing off when she got good trades. And it felt like the pick just didn't really kind of play out the way the Bobcats wanted to. They weren't able to create pressure in the side lane. Pepperdine managed to get every major objective except for that first dragon, and just a great job managing that Fiora in the side lane.
And you definitely see how that was an adjustment from the games they played on Thursday, where that objective control really wasn't there. And partially because the jungle was really shut down early, which made it very, very hard to secure objectives, but also just kind of generally the team play around those were not very strong on Thursday. So you can see how Pepperdine kind of learned from that mistake and was trying to do much better about that this game.
Absolutely, yeah. The focus on a little bit of an early game jungler and the Kindred who's got some agency, different from the Zac, different from the Karthus, certainly. And, focusing that Fiora on the top side to try to make sure they shut her down so she can't be that big split pusher in the mid and late game. Very good adaptations on the side of Pepperdine. Absolutely.
Yeah, and going into this next game, what adjustments do you think you'll see from the side of the Bobcats from Montana State here? Like, what adjustment do you think that they need to make if they want to bring this series back?
Yeah, I think one thing is going to be drafting a jungler with a little bit more agency. Yes, the Sejuani's great in team fights. Yes, she wants to be paired with a Leona to really lock down a zone. But don't draft that with a Fiora. Don't draft that with something that wants to be on the other side of the map and can't participate if that's going to be the crux of your team. It seemed like they were split a little bit on what they wanted to do. The Fiora never got ahead, so she couldn't be dragging someone out to a side lane, so you couldn't have 4v4s with your good team fight. And with Scott being able to manage the Fiora and get into the team fights and be a team fight presence, it just didn't work out. So if you want to go for that split push style and have a Fiora in the top lane or have a Jax in the top lane, get a jungler who can early gank, who can defend the split pusher early and keep them from getting shut down. Pick a Lee Sin. Pick something that can do something like that and make sure they don't get run over.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw in the chat there was a little bit of some banter going on with Scott and missing some of these Ornn ultis, but you don't need to hit that Ornn ult if the rest of the team is going to just die anyway, I guess. You can afford those little mistakes. There were a couple of times he was stunned out of it, though, but ultimately I think Pepperdine played that pretty clean, except for maybe, unfortunately, Santomasi on that Orianna just not feeling as comfortable in that early game, but ultimately was able to provide that utility going into the late game that they needed.
Yeah, he hit a couple really good shockwaves, stopped a couple MF ults really well. I think it's very clear that he's not as comfortable in that Orianna as he is on a Yasuo or on a Talon, there's no question. But providing the utility role that his team needed, being an AP damage source, hitting those ults and disruption as needed, and, well done from him, playing that utility role for the team.
Yeah, definitely. You really have to admire that as well. It shows that, the ego wasn't getting in the way there of, the pick that was ultimately what would be best for the team, which you love to see from, your home team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're currently working on getting into the next game as well. Everyone is loaded into the lobby, so it should be just a few more minutes here before we get to the picks and bans, or actually more like maybe a few seconds, so we'll see.
All right. Less time we have to kill.
Definitely.
So I am really curious to see how the draft plays out. I think that we will see a much different look from the Bobcats. I don't think the split push comp worked, or we'll see a heavy adaptation to facilitate the split push comp.
Yeah, we are getting into the picks and bans now, and we see that Caitlyn ban coming out just like the last game from Pepperdine, followed by the Ashe ban on the side of the Bobcats, and then the Hecarim ban from Pepperdine. So far, just kind of hashing out what happened before in the previous pick ban phase.
Adaptations here.
So we'll have to see, will the Bobcats stick with the same bans they did last time? They seem to be hesitating a bit on this one. And then they stick with the Olaf.
I promise.
That may tell me that they're not going to ban the Yasuo last, but I don't know what they replace it with. I mean, maybe taking Scott off the Ornn, but... Oh, interesting, a Vigar ban. So really paying respect to Larry's Vigar and not wanting him to play that again.
And the Yasuo ban... Yeah. So the Bobcats make no adjustments here, and the Pepperdine respects the Vhagar pick on the side of the Bobcats. So you have to wonder what draft decisions the Bobcats are going to make. The Rakan comes out from Pepperdine.
That's a high priority on Evan's Rakan. Interesting. With no Yasuo to support it. I wonder if we'll see the Alistar picked up here. It's a little bit of a counter to the Kindred. It can knock people out of the Kindred ult. And just straight back to the MF. Interesting. So no Samira priority in either of these games, despite it being left up. I would expect an Alistar here, given that it wasn't banned on the side of Pepperdine. But we'll see.
Definitely a lot of talk is going on behind the scenes on this one, right down to the wire, and it's the Nautilus.
Okay, so again, a team fight lockdown type of champ with a little bit more targeted CC in the ulti. Does Windshield go back to the Kindred, or are we going to see something else?
I doubt they pick jungle here. It's going to be a Twitch. Twitch jungle? I don't. Probably not. Probably not.
I don't love Twitch into Nautilus. Twitch's ability to pop out of nowhere and surprise you is very strong, but Nautilus has 2 ways of just kind of shutting him down from a distance. So,
oh, the Lee Sin is coming out from Pepperdine. That was the adjustment you suggested that the Bobcats make.
Yeah, this is a lot of kind of mixed signals here from Pepperdine. You've got a very much a late game hyper scaling Twitch and a Lee Sin. So I guess focusing on the bot side, trying to get that Twitch ahead. Kindred not going to be the priority this game. It's going to be Bobby on the hyper carry and Windshield kind of focusing on getting Bobby ahead as opposed to the team playing around Windshield.
What do you think about this
picked
Vi?
up on the side.
Still lots
Vi
of
has
CC.
This is very much a pick you and lock you down.
The
And,
Orianna band on the side of the Bobcats. An interesting pick, but maybe it's partially because they know Santamasi will probably have to go onto an AP mid laner, and Orianna is one of the few that he does play pretty consistently.
I'm surprised. I was expecting an Ornn ban out of the Bobcats. Okay, Kassadin ban. Interesting. Not
Definitely
totally surprising.
Attacking Larry in the mid lane.
Yeah.
Trying to take away
perhaps a counter to something that Santo has.
Yeah, definitely. Also taking away AP options because the Bobcats have yet to have an AP on their team either. Both teams need that AP damage. Of course.
Second time we've seen a Wukong ban, so really trying to deny Evan team fight potential, but that Ornn's left up.
Yeah, you gotta wonder if maybe Pepperdine is thinking of, oh, the Mordekaiser ban. I was thinking maybe Pepperdine was thinking of the Mordekaiser for Scott this game, but
I wouldn't be
not.
surprised if the Bobcats pick Ornn here or pick something that Ornn doesn't want to play against. Otherwise, it seems to me that there's no reason for Scott not just to play Ornn again.
Yeah, you have to wonder, maybe Pepperdine is trying something a little bit experimental here, especially because they do have a game to lose, and it's the Zed. It looks like the top lane has to be the AP for this Bobcat team, because I'm not seeing it so far.
Yeah, that's very interesting in the mid lane.
Oh, it looks like my Discord shut down again. Unfortunate. We will take you to the end of this draft. It looks like the Echo is locked in for the mid lane for Santamasi. We will have to see what is locked in here for support. Not support. Top lane. Multitasking, trying to get Discord back up. And it is the Camille in the top lane from Scott. And it looks like it's going to be into a Malphite, perhaps an AP Malphite, considering the desperate need of AP damage on the side of the Bobcats. So we'll have to see how that goes. Can you hear me, fellow caster?
Yes, I can.
So sorry that my Discord decided to commit some sort of horrific act upon itself yet again.
So thank you, chat, for pointing out a strong synergy here between the Twitch and Rakan. The Twitch can stealth, get in close while invisible, and the Rakan can actually dash to the Twitch and then dash to knock up. So a little bit of synergy here in the bot lane from Pepperdine.
Yeah, it looks like that latest Discord crash has kind of screwed up my camera setup here, so we're going to have to redo that real quick. So you can listen to our lovely voices as you watch the spectator countdown for just a few minutes here.
I did not see the last few picks. Can you fill me in there, Ramsey?
Yes, we are going in it's a Camille top lane, Lee Sin jungle, Echo mid, Twitch ADC, Rakan support on the side of Pepperdine, and then a Malphite top lane for the Bobcats, Vi jungle, mid lane Zed, ADC Misfortune, and a support Nautilus. So I'm expecting maybe an AP Malphite in order to be able to have any AP damage at all on the side of the Bobcats. So that's a really interesting moment there.
Are we going to see the Luden's Echo Malphite in this game? The ARAM specialty?
You know, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at this point coming from Pepperdine, you know, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it sounds like the Bobcats are saying, screw our damage ratios. Let's just pile on. Let's just Malphite ult into Vi ult into the Nautilus knockup into the Zed picking off a priority target. On the flip side, I don't know if you know this about me, Ramsey, I have quite the mastery of Echo, about 600,000 points. It was my main for many years.
Well, there you go.
Echo. Don't love the Zed matchup. However, when level 6 hits, it's very easy to outplay the Zed with the Echo ulti. And very easy to counteract Malphite ults and Nautilus ults with the Echo ulti. So a great pickup here on the side of Pepperdine, playing a champ who has the ability to press R and reset and counter a lot of those big team fight ultis.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to say the least. Apologies for not being the most active participant in this conversation. I'm trying to... We're probably not going to have our...
technical difficulties. Bear with us, please. We will be back to your regularly scheduled league game in a short time.
Yeah, we will probably not have our beautiful faces for you this go around, but when we come back from this game, we will do our best.
I've got to say, I like the team comp from Pepperdine a lot more. It seems like a win draft, win game kind of situation here. Better damage spread, less pile-on damage, but the Camille will still be a strong side lane pressure, still have some team fight potential. Unfortunately, the Camille doesn't feel as impactful when you've got a Malphite and a Zed, two very kind of elusive team fight champions. The Malphite can just ult away, and the Zed can dodge a lot of things with the Shadow. So I'm not entirely sure who the Camille is going to try to get on. If she jumps on the MF in the backline, she's going to get Nautilus knocked up. She's going to get hooked. So very curious to see how that plays out.
Yes, we are waiting to load into the game here. There we go. Currently on 0% getting into this game. Alright, I will go ahead and share my screen with my lovely co-caster, and now hopefully all of you.
Here we go, loading into game 2.
Yeah, it looks like... Oh no. We love the technical difficulties. Okay, I think that was the problem. So I can now share with you. It wasn't working because I had shared with you before restarting the stream. Oh, heavens to Betsy. Alright, stream, we're back!
And we're live, catching you up. First Blood did go over to the side of the Bobcats, and they've built up a 1K gold lead in 6 minutes, so pretty good early adaptation from them. As as we see, the Echo is down about 20 CS in the mid lane, not surprising. I will say I'm surprised there hasn't been much activity down in the bot lane. The Vi hasn't come down and attempted to shut down this Twitch and put the Twitch behind. If that Twitch just gets a free lane to farm in, he will take over the game. Lee Sin in the top lane now, see if you can do a little counter ganking action, but the Vi is on the bot side, so I'd be surprised if they chose to dive with the Camille at such low health. Oh, there's
Slight
the ult.
extra technical difficulty, but we good now.
Surprising that the Malphite went in on the Camille and just not respecting the ability for the Lee Sin to be hiding in that bush.
The stream here in just a couple minutes, we'll see a brief flash of our lovely faces, but then be back right into it. Oh, the MF ulti goes down, but the Recon Charm manages to save the Twitch's life. And will he die though? Nope. Recon is there to be a good support and save the day.
It's very clear that Evan is very comfortable in this Recon, and it's very much a comfort pick for him. Glad Pepperdine went back to this. It gives them engaged potential and some safety from the bot lane.
I'm pulling up the Twitch stream to make sure that we are back to normal.
Oh, flash from the MF in the bottom lane. Great engage from the Rakan.
Everything on my end says that we're good to go, so hopefully that's actually the case.
Yeah, we see here the Lee Sin putting a lot of priority on the bot lane, and what a nice play. Excellent engage there from Winchell on this Lee Sin. Now, with the Dragon come up here in 30 seconds, I would expect Pepperdine to continue to apply pressure to the bot side, get a plate here, back, buy some more, and come back for this Dragon here. Especially now that Vi's showing on the top side with the Herald. It looks like the first tower...
The Zed does get the Rakan there. Cuddy, would you mind seeing if you can pull up the stream as well?
Yeah, I'm actually got the stream up here on my second monitor. It looks like it's going.
All right, my cell phone Twitch app was not cooperating with me, so I wanted to make sure that we were all good to go.
So the first tower does not go down on the top side, in fact. The Camille commits her ult, and the Dragon will hopefully go over to Pepperdine here. Yep. And Luisin is out. TP committed from the Malphite. Gets nothing. So a rather perplexing decision there from the Malphite to TP down into the Dragon Pit after the Dragon's already gone.
Yeah, you have to think that must have been a miscommunication on the side of the Bobcats. Maybe Alec didn't quite get the message that the Dragon was a thing of the past.
We're starting to see some of those first items coming in. The Zed finishing the Yomu's Ghost Blade. Gonna start stacking that lethality. Bork finished for the Twitch in the bot lane. I would imagine he starts to build a Runons next. As we see Zed in the bot lane. Down here for a little bit of a gank. Here's the engage. Really not great from the side of the Bobcats. The Zed flash and ult committed. They get nothing.
Yeah, the Rakan goes in and gets the W off onto the back line and does ultimately pay the price with his life, but does get a kill over for the side of Pepperdine.
It's a kill for the mid laner on the mid laner, and then the Rakan dies to the Nautilus. So definitely a win for Pepperdine there in terms of where those kills ended up.
Yeah, the Vi is looking at that juicy Echo there. And it does look like, you know, you gotta wonder in moments like that if going the extra few steps to the turret to recall were gonna be worth it.
Absolutely, I think that's a rather questionable decision there from Santo to back right in the middle of the lane. Cost him about 3 seconds to walk back to the tower and press B under tower as opposed to in the middle of the lane, but it happens.
Yeah, thank you, chat, for confirming that stream is fine. Much appreciated. We're on a slight 2-minute delay. Ho-ho! Barely does not cancel that recall there. Yeah, just a reminder for chat that this stream is being run on my laptop, so thank you for all of the patience. Getting a new PC soon, though, so hopefully that'll help for future streams.
So, taking stock of where we are in the game. Gold's just about even. The Echo has clawed back a little bit of that CS deficit. The Twitch has not died, is onto the Bork, and is set to take over this game in about 10 minutes when he finishes Runons and another crit item. So, looking good for Pepperdine. Now, we do see a roam down here. 4 men in the bot side. Is Windchill going to get caught out here in the jungle? Pinched between the Zed and the Vi?
Looks like maybe so, but he does manage to ward hop over. Uses the blast cone to get away from the Zed.
Great usage of the blast cone there by Windchill to knock the Zed out. Deathmark not doing much with no follow-up damage.
Levi comes in, does not land that Q. There's a fight here on the Nautilus in the jungle, but the MF is there ultimately to protect her support. And does the Vi die here? It looks like Scott was trying to get that kill onto the Vi there and ultimately does not get anything out of that.
Little bit of an overcommit on the side of Pepperdine there.
Yeah, and it looks like Scott might have auto-attacked a minion instead of the Vi, which was all that was needed to kill her.
Flash committed and died under the tower. Unfortunate.
Yeah, I gotta think that maybe that was a little bit of an overconfidence move. Especially considering that Pepperdine was a bit ahead before of that play.
Dragon coming up. Rift Herald is up now. I'm curious to see how much priority is put onto this next Drake. With Pepperdine having 2 Drakes, this next
the
one.
Rakan W is canceled by the Nautilus Q. The charm goes out, and ultimately that was all that it took to get the kill onto the MF, and the Twitch just autos down the Nautilus. So while Rakan's play was ultimately interrupted by the enemy support, he was able to get all of the value he needed with both his ultimate and his E to help facilitate his Twitch.
With 2 down on the side of Pepperdine, you would expect this dragon to go over to them, but Bobcats are the one who start up the Drake. Let's see if they can finish it.
It looks like the steal. Lee Sin does pay for it, but
I'm going to have to say worth there on the side of Pepperdine.
But the shutdown on the Lee Sin went over to the side of the Bobcats as well. I didn't quite see who got that kill.
I think Zed picked up that kill, so not who you want the gold to go on. But for the rest of the game, just like last game, the Bobcats have to come to the Dragon. Pepperdine gets to play their game around the Dragon, force the Bobcats to come to them.
The Bobcats do get this other neutral objective, the Rift Herald.
I imagine they'll take that top side and knock down that top tower, unless the MF gets it on her own, in which case you'll probably see them drop it mid lane to try to open up the mid lane.
A little bit of a skirmish here in the Pepperdine bot side, and the Nautilus pays a price. The Camille ulti was committed there to secure that kill, but ultimately a little bit of a misplay there from the Bobcats as well. Not really expecting, I'm sure, most of the brunt of the Pepperdine team to be available to stop that little invade.
Yeah, it looks like
and the Rakan does go in to try to get another kill for his Twitch. Ultimately, they do not commit. Rakan trying to bolster his vision score there and make up for the deficit with the enemy support.
Yeah, down quite a bit on the vision score, 30 to 14.
Yeah, that is a weakness of Pepperdine general vision control, especially with Evan Cakes. That's definitely something that he's had to be working on recently. So you can see a lot of intentionality when it comes to the warding that you do see on the side of Pepperdine. And the sneaky Twitch is out to play. Does get the MF very, very low. The Twitch ult comes out, as does the MF ult. We also have a little fight going on here in the bot lane, and ultimately the Echo does take out the Zed. It looks like nothing really came of that fight in the mid lane. Nobody died. But two ults were committed.
Yeah, and the MF flash goes down as well as the Nautilus ignites. So 2 summoners expended there in the mid lane. Pepperdine only burns the Twitch flash, although the Twitch flash is an important summoner spell for the next big fight.
Indeed. It also looks like both of the supports committed their ultimates as well. We probably just didn't quite see that.
It looks like we've got a Sunfire Cape Bramble Vest picked up on the top side for the Malphite.
So
the
no
Trinity Force on the Camille.
Yeah, so no AP Malphite this game, and kind of no AP on the side of the Bobcat. So you can see those ninja tabbies on the side of Pepperdine are getting a lot of value this game.
Absolutely.
Armor OP.
Yeah, although there aren't too many heavy auto attackers. They're not mitigating quite as much damage as they might if there was a Twitch, say, on the other side of the rift.
Very, very true. You're right there. And it does look like Santomasi was caught out by the Vi ultimate and ultimately does die to that little push by the Bobcats.
Pulling a Jensen there as Echo, dying with Echo ulti up.
Oof, you love to hate to see it. You can just imagine the chat pinging that Echo ultimate.
Just that R spam. It looks like the Camille's starting to open up a little bit of a CS lead on the top side. Having a little free time there. This next Drake fight here in the next minute or so is going to be really important. Again, Pepperdine late to the vision. Despite this objective being theirs to take,
They probably
Bobcats
just
are the
want to
ones
steal
already-
it again. They're just going to let the Bobcats do the work and come in for the cleanup. And the Rakan is caught out here. Does manage to get
Fortunately,
away.
that W just able to dash right away.
Looks like the Echo is getting found out here by the Vi. Gets caught by the Vi ultimate again. Does use his ultimate this time. The MF ult comes down to get a little bit of extra damage. The Vi flashes away from the Lee Sin Q. Is extremely low and does not want to be that low for this upcoming fight that Pepperdine is more than ready to take. The Camille comes in with her E, sweeps with the W, and the Rakan comes in on top of her, manages to W the back line of the Bobcats, but ultimately he does go down, and a lot of Pepperdine is taken out by the Malphite there. The Echo does manage, or excuse me, the Lee Sin does manage to get some kills there in the backline, but ultimately the Bobcats come out ahead in that fight. But it is only the Nautilus alive, and I'm not sure if the Nautilus plans to solo this Mountain Drake here.
I doubt it. I can't say that I like that skirmish from Pepperdine. They have the ability to force the Bobcats to come to them, and instead they take a split fight with the Lee Sin on the backside and the Echo getting soloed out on the side of the pit. Not as coordinated as you might hope for.
Yeah, the
Pepperdine
Vi
squad.
really should have died there when she flashed away, took that tower hit, and just barely missed the Lee Sin Q. There were Pepperdine players there to potentially catch her out, but they just weren't prepared for that. And then, of course, Scott on this Camille playing very, very aggressive, does try to use the E off the wall to get a stun onto the side of the Bobcats, but ultimately does not get that and then dies in the midst of their entire team. So a bit of a kerfuffle
Started
there.
up here for the Bobcats. Let's see if
And
Pepperdine
the
can
steal
contest.
does
Nope.
not come through this time on the side of the Pepperdine. The Twitch tries to get it with his E, I believe.
Yeah, you can't help but feel that Pepperdine kind of dropped the ball there and let that fourth dragon go over when, you know, lack of vision control and just not quite respecting the Bobcats' ability to jump on somebody and blow them up.
Yeah, you've got to feel bad on the side of Pepperdine because also you see, you know, they do have a gold lead, but it's now much smaller than it was before. Pepperdine seems to be a team that really flourishes when they play from behind, but when they're ahead, they seem to not really know what to do with their lead. Except the Twitch is here, just wreaking havoc in that mid lane, but the Camille is a little bit caught out here by both the Zed and the Vi. Both ultimates are committed from them, and Windchill comes in to save the day. Ultimately, does he continue to chase here? It seems like he is.
Back in the mid lane, it looks like we got a siege onto the mid tower, and it will go down in the favor of Pepperdine.
The Camille and the Lee Sin are still skirmishing top lane. Looks like the other Pepperdine players are rotating in that direction, trying to see if maybe they can get this outer turret. The Rakan does discover the Malphite there. The Echo goes in. He has his ultimate, and it's a little bit of a strange
Yeah, it's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Dive
diving
there.
in 1v3 in the back line and not getting anything for it.
he probably hoped he could burst someone down with, but with the amount of CC that the Bobcats have, you know, he's lucky that he was able to press his R button in time, to be completely honest. The Lee Sin comes out, gets that Q onto the Zed. Does not get caught by the Nautilus Q. Does get slowed by the Malphite, ultimately into the Vi R. Vi does Zhonya's. She gets charmed by the Rakan. Rakan W's up both the Malphite and the Nautilus. The Pepperdine team collapses onto that back line of the Bobcats. Lee Sin does not survive the ZR, and Pepperdine continues to attack this Nautilus. The Camille goes down to the Nautilus. The Echo might as well. The Nautilus with the double kill. You've got the Twitch now trying to auto the Nautilus down, and man, that was another strange fight, leaving only one person standing, and ultimately that is Bobby Joe's Twitch.
And this is the best person you could have still up from Pepperdine. 500 shutdown from the Nautilus onto the Twitch, and alone time with this turret means they should get it.
That was the
really
plan all
messed
along.
up.
Give the Nautilus a 500 gold shutdown and then just leave him for the Twitch, I guess. A very interesting play there by all people involved. Twitch does not
really
overstay.
skirmish heavy.
It's
All
interesting,
right.
we've had 2 fights so far this game that left just 1 player on the Rift alive.
Yeah, well, it's so scrappy and fighting not kind of in the same areas. As fights keep getting split. You've got the Malphite ult knocking people up, the Vi diving deep, the Zed with his ability to dash around.
And you
And then
really
on the other side,
see... Or you really see these fights happening in kind of 2 groups. Nobody's kind of fighting together. It's kind of like a group of like 4 here and a group of 6 over here. It's just a very interesting
that's by
sort
virtue of each team has 3 divers. I mean, the Camille wants to dive, the Lee Sin wants to dive, the Echo wants to dive, and then on the other side, the Malphite's diving in, the Vi's ulting in, and the Zed's diving in with his Shadow and ult. So I think we're just seeing the fights getting split as these champs are kind of doing what they're designed to do, but it ends up looking kind of messy.
Indeed, that's very true. Oh, it looks like Echo might be a bit caught out here up in the top lane and does ultimately get shut down. Lots of CC there on the side of the Bobcats. The teleport was committed there late, and the Camille does not go down, though. The Recon is there to follow up. Will Pepperdine be able to make something of it? The shutdown on the Twitch goes over to the Malphite, but the Lee Sin kick into all of the damage coming out from Pepperdine's Camille, as well as the Lee Sin and the Recon there to facilitate. That fight goes in the favor of Pepperdine. Larry seems like he'll be caught out here. Will the Recon go down? No, and the Zed does manage to use his Shadow to get away, but Pepperdine continues to chase, it seems. They are thirsty for this kill. The Zed ultimate goes down on the Camille. He does not get anything of it, and the Lee Sin gets a kill again. That is a delayed quadra kill, I think, on the side of the Lee Sin. And ultimately, this Mountain Drake will go over to the side of Pepperdine. There we go. Pastor Cody, are you still with me?
I'm here.
Okay. I just wanted to double check, considering how this evening is going. And unfortunately, that is a kill on the Twitch over to the Misfortune. And now it looks like the Bobcats may be going, and they are indeed going for this Baron. They're going to see if they can just kind of burst it down. And they do have a lot of damage going down on it. Probably not quite as fast as they want, but it doesn't look like Pepperdine's even going to check. The Baron does go over to the side of the Bobcats. There we go. Is it back?
Yes, indeed.
There we go.
So it looks like a Baron trade in exchange for the Mountain Soul on the side of Pepperdine. I can't help but think, ultimately, in the long run, that's a boon for the Pepperdine team, that Twitch will be able to survive a lot better when the Zed and the Vi and the Malphite try to dive on top of them.
Zed ultimate goes down onto the Camille. The Camille ult goes down, and Windchill is ultimately able to pick up the kill on the Zed. The Zed does manage to get the kill on the Camille from the bleed. Windchill might go down to this Malphite here, but he does manage to get away. The GEA is popped on the Vi there. And it comes away even 1-1 on the side of Pepperdine. And a lot is being given towards this mid lane, though. Everybody showing in the bot lane has a little bit of a base race going on here on the side of Pepperdine and the Bobcats, but they're ultimately going to get much more value, Pepperdine, from getting this inhib as well.
Yeah, 2 towers in the bot lane, or 1 tower in the bot lane in exchange for an inhib seems pretty good for Pepperdine.
Except now Pepperdine is probably going to lose wind chill there. GA popped. They're probably going to see if they can donate this kill over to the Misfortune, but it doesn't look like maybe he'll get it. He does. Gets the shutdown on the Lee Sin, a immense shutdown, but then the shutdown goes right back over to the Camille. So a very, very feisty game we're having here on the Rift today.
Yeah, the Gold League just 500 separating these 2 teams, but Ocean Soul on the... Oh! Vi forced to flash away from the Twitch.
The Camille ult goes down and locks down the Zed. The Malphite is there. The Twitch goes down to the Vi in that little skirmish, but it does look like the Malphite is in a bit of trouble.
So with 3 minutes left on the Baron and 2 minutes left on the Elder, we should see a focus on pushing lanes here, establishing vision control, and most importantly, not dying when these objectives start to come up. A crucial pick before one of these objective spawns might be make or break for both these teams.
Yeah, the Echo is here again, kind of greeting for that red buff that he does not ultimately get. A bit cut out here, but the Rakan is there to shadow a little bit. The Vi ult goes down onto the Rakan, but he manages to just E away. E back to his Echo.
Yeah, the Vi ult will be up for the next team fight, so not necessarily the worst usage there.
Yeah, if she could have gotten the Rakan, that would be a much bigger deal. But the cooldown on the Vi ult is not too bad. That was worth the risk on the side of the Bobcat.
Little bit of a lull state coming through here with the Bobcats just farming their lanes. Pepperdine does have the push advantage with that mid inhibitor down. I really want to see Pepperdine start setting up vision now. We've got a minute left until that Elder Drake, and now is the time for the Rakan and the Lee Sin to get that jungle support duo into the jungle of the Bobcats, start putting down vision, force the Bobcats to face check Pepperdine in exchange for this Elder Dragon. The Camille is topside with TP, and the Malphite is not, so perhaps better allocation on the side of Pepperdine.
The Vi seemed unable to decide if she wanted to actually recall there.
Bobcats have not made any effort to provide any vision or engage in this bottom side, so now they're going to have to be walking in and face checking Pepperdine amongst a field of wards as this Elder Dragon spawns.
The Camille has TP up, so she's over in the top lane. As this fight goes down, you can see the Zhonya's come out from the Echo as Rakan gets a massive charm onto the enemy team. The Misfortune ult ultimately takes down Windchill, which is what you really don't want to see considering he is in this fight, but Echo manages to get the Vi. While Malphite is trying to get the Twitch in the backline, he does manage to be successful, but he is taken down by the Camille, who did TP in, and the Nautilus is ultimately killed by the Camille as well. She gets a triple kill going over to Scott in that fight.
This might be game here. 40-second death timers. Santo will get this turret and inhibitor. They may be able to push for a Nexus tower. Superman is in the base.
That seems to be the play I think they're trying to end. I think they'll be successful as well.
Looks like a 35-minute victory for Pepperdine. GG, Pepperdine takes this one.
Good job, Pepperdine. I'm making sure nothing is too glitchy on the side of the stream before we switch back to our lovely faces for you people. Whoops, let's make sure that's that. All right. We love technical difficulties here on this stream, but fortunately it looks like everything's relatively back in working order, but maybe we're a little bit out of frame there, but I think I fixed it. There we go. Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, Pepperdine played that last fight really well. They got in, they set up their vision in the blue side jungle, made sure they could see the Bobcats coming to them, and then punished them for it. So, really well played. I'm disappointed that the Bobcats chose not to contest vision until moments before the excuse me. Moments before the objective was coming up, and they just get...
Don't die.
Pardon me, got something stuck in my throat. Moments before the objective is coming up, they're forced to face check, and they lose the game because of it.
Yeah, definitely. Those little skirmishes got really, really spicy there in the mid game, but Pepperdine ultimately is able to clutch it out. And, you know, even though in that last fight, kind of the most fed person on the team, Winchell, was taken out fairly early, the team play from Pepperdine was able to make up that difference. Echo was able to dive in, get the Vi, who was super, super low, and then ultimately the Camille was able to use the TP, come in, and just kind of clean up that fight. And, you know, you can definitely see Pepperdine making improvements from the previous games, prioritizing those objectives and, you know, trying to just play the macro game a little bit better. There's definitely room for improvement, but you can see how Pepperdine is trying their best to really, you know, get good and have a good showing going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely saw changes and improvements, especially on the side of vision. Against UCLA, they had a lot of trouble setting up vision ahead of time. They really struggled to then face check into UCLA for objectives. And this time, they were able to set up their own vision ahead of time, force the Bobcats to do to them what UCLA did to Pepperdine. And it makes a difference. When you've got your own vision, when you've got the setup, you're able to play your game as opposed to being forced to play your opponent's game. And so really good adaptation for Pepperdine.
Yeah, definitely. If there was one thing you think is a learning moment for Pepperdine in this game going into the rest of the season, like what's something that they can take from these games on into the future?
Yeah, so from UCLA, the focus on macro, we saw them take that and adapt it into this game. And in this game, they were able to execute on it. Really well done. I think a lot of it's going to come down to making sure that Winchell is on comfort and making sure he's on something proactive and then protecting him. He wasn't invaded early. He wasn't shut down. And he really, especially in game 2, carried that team through the mid game, stealing that crucial dragon. Just so much emphasis on getting him ahead and making sure he's able to be a playmaker. And so, again, adaptations from Series 1. They played against a really solid team in UCLA. They were exposed in a couple weaknesses. They made the changes, and we saw the dividends earned here with these wins.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure that, you know, coming off of that 0-2 loss against UCLA into this 2-0 victory over Montana State, Pepperdine has regained a little bit of confidence going into these future matches. And, you know, I definitely am looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season has to offer in the coming weeks. And if you are interested in knowing what's going to happen with our future games, make sure to follow this channel as well as our social media channels. You can follow us at Pepp Esports on all of the social media channels to know when we are going live, when the streams are happening, especially because considering that games are normally scheduled during the week, we have to reschedule because of classes. So it really is the best way to keep up to date on what is happening with these League of Legends games and all other esports teams that Pepperdine Esports has to offer. So is there anything final, any parting words that you have for these lovely people who tuned in for the stream today, Coddy?
Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you for dealing with our technical difficulties. We'll try to make sure those don't happen in the future. But thanks for supporting and have a great night.
Yeah, definitely. Have a great night, y'all.